And that's what we're talking about. We need to know why exactly mental health matters. To begin with, we'll start with the definition of mental health. Mental health, many times when people hear mental, they are immediately thinking about mental illness. But here's the definition of mental health, according to the World Health Organization. It can be defined as a state of well-being in which every individual realizes his or her own potential, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. That means that mental health is a positive thing. When you look at this definition and everything that's in it, it means the word mental should be associated with something positive. Now, mental health is not just the absence of mental illness. It's not as though they're word and opposites, mental health, mental illness. There's more to mental health than the absence of mental illness. And that brings me to the idea of a sense of community. Because when you look at the definition of mental health, it begins on a personal level and then it goes communal. So while the origins are with a personal conviction and realizing your potential, it then goes through a process of knowing how well to cope with situations. And ultimately, it ends with a constructive approach of contributing meaningfully to community. So mental health has to do with a sense of community. Adding value to your community has to do with the concept and the construct of mental health. There are some challenges, though, to mental health. And these challenges could be biological or they could be psychosocial. Now, when we look at them in terms of chronology, we can say that some of those challenges are temporal, meaning that they have to do with contemporary situations that are happening right now. And the global pandemic is a case in point because the pandemic has affected people all through the ages. Now, when we look across the ages as well, mental health has various expressions in childhood, in adults, and then in the older adults, whom we also called the elderly people. Elderly people are also categorized into the young elderly, the middle elderly, and then the elderly. And in all of these phases of life, mental health comes to play. In fact, when we look at childhood, there's a concept of infant mental health that many people need to also be aware about. Gender and mental health. There's blue here representing male and pink representing female. And of course, the one representing male is straight, while we have the one representing female being a little more shapely. And males and females have their own unique mental health expressions and needs, and we've got to cater to all of those. And Yours Mindfully Official intends to be sensitive to the needs based on gender and generation. And when we look at the mental health effects of the pandemic, they're actually global in the context of the global outbreak. And there are mental health effects that could be deleterious on the general population, including not sleeping well, being fearful. There could be effects on social or health leaders. Unfortunately, in the period of the pandemic, we've had quite a number of leaders, both in the health sector and in the social domain, commit suicide. And people who test positive for COVID would also have to go through a journey of mental health changes. And people with pre-existing mental illness may have a resurgence of symptoms by virtue of not being able to go to the clinic or being anxious about the situation or being predisposed already, and then having the stressors in this environment serve as the precipitants for illness. Social isolation in itself has some physical health effects. It affects wound healing, it affects the heart and the nerves, and then it also has mental health effects. For people who are predisposed, they may become addicted because they are home, they're bored, and then they're taking substances. And chronic isolation is known to affect the size of an aspect of the brain that controls memory. That's why when people are locked up in a particular place and they can't get out chronically for a very long duration of time, they may begin to have affectation of their memory and other aspects of their mental health. So to focus on solutions rather than just discuss the problems, we've got to be a better version of ourselves. What's the solution to social isolation? Be a better version of you in terms of your mindset, your skill set, and your tool set. And then it's not just about you, it has to transcend your being into connecting with other people. Remembering that integral to the definition of mental health is that we're serving community. So our social connections with other people will also help us in this season. And Yours Mindfully Official seeks to help you with both. So just to give you a sneak peek as we dovetail into the end of this, we intend to provide mental health information. Already we have a Facebook page, a Twitter page, we're on Instagram, YouTube, and Linktree. The ebook that Keaton read is available for free on our Linktree account. And we would profess solutions moving forward that would be engineered towards our individual personalities and our learning models. Some people learn very well with text, so we will have days where we do text. On Saturdays, for instance, we can brand it as Story Saturday, and you can go on our Facebook page, our Twitter, Instagram, and see the story for the day. On Monday, when we have Mental Monday, we may have montages, and we may have a short clip. So whatever your learning model is, we got you covered. And we would also be providing service through packages that are meant for various categories of people. And we would have mentoring programs where, apart from the general talk, we would also attach people to a mentor that can guide them through the process of what they're going through. And the virtual mental health service would also be available so that if anyone needs a mental health solution, they're having a challenge with their mental health, they can reach out to us privately, slide into our DM, talk to us about it, or even send us an email at yoursmindfullyofficial@gmail.com. Some people may want to volunteer. You may be thinking, how do I become a part of this? I want to be a part of this noble initiative that is kicking off. Well, you can send us an email and we'll be glad to hear from you. I thank you very much for your attention.